Welcome to Vinted with Scout Driscoll. Come along with me on my journey into the wine world, where I share thoughtful conversations with wine industry leaders. Get ready for marketing insights from branding and design to sales and social media, and the answer to the ultimate question: what moves wine? Hi, everyone. I'm branding and design expert Scout Driscoll, founder of Vint.studio and host of Vinted, where I can chat with top leaders in the wine industry. Today, I have a special guest who's actually going to be interviewing me, Dr. Jeremy Wise from Rise 25. He's done thousands of interviews with successful business leaders, and we flipped the script for him to gain some of my insights to share with you guys today. Welcome, Jeremy.
Scout, thanks for having me. It's always exciting because I learn it's not just about branding, right? Or it's not just about labels and design. It's about the branding part. And I love the strategy behind the branding. That's why I love talking to you, because strategy is the key and the foundation for everything. And we're going to be talking about what to focus on when creating a wine label and some mistakes people make. All right. We're going to get into it. Before we do, this episode is brought to you by Vint Wine Branding and Design, where rich storytelling meets smart design. I know at Vint, their studios go beyond the label, which I just discussed, guiding wine brands through a strategic branding and packaging evolution. I know, Scott, with you, your work with Cooper's Hawk has helped them grow the nation's largest wine club to over 450,000 plus members. Some of your favorite label designs have included Cooper's Hawk collaborations with winemakers. Who are some of the winemakers that have collaborated with them?
Like John Charles Boisset in Napa Valley, Dr. Lawson or Ernie Lawson out in the Mosel Valley in Germany, and Francis Ford Coppola.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what makes Vint unique is the lack of ego. I know you have an all-woman team and over 20 years of experience building consumer brands across industries. So if you want to learn more about Vint, go to Vint.studio, and you can, actually email them for a free label audit for your brand. hello@Vint.studio. So check it out. And so, Scott, let's start with what to focus on when creating a wine label and some mistakes people make. What's a big one that you may shake your head at?
Sure. And there's so many opportunities to improve design across all industries. But with wine labels, I think there's often, especially with smaller wineries, a propensity to really just kind of use who you know for your labels. There's a lot of, hey, my friend did this in the wine world. I was just judging the Beverage Tasting Institute's Wine Packaging Design Awards a couple of years back. And I would say half of the awards or half of the submissions were really very homegrown designs. So I always, of course, recommend working with professional. At Vint, we work with wineries, but we also, through DesignScout, work with craft beer, craft coffee, consumer goods across all industries, restaurants. So when we are able to bring all those insights to that one, 4x6 inch of sticky paper and to build your brand outside of that, we have a lot to bring and a lot to help with. And there's a million great wine designers. So, while of course Vint is all about helping ourselves, there are millions of designers who can help you. So work with a pro whenever you can.
I've seen that mistake across lots of industries. They're like, oh, my niece knows Photoshop, or my sister's son is on TikTok or something. And so they could run our social media. So I've definitely seen that across many industries. Like you said, you will just gain so many insights from a professional who's done it. And, this is important. This is your business. So I definitely love that advice. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, I've heard you use the term before, brand key process. So I'd love for you to talk about what that means.
Absolutely. So the brand key is really, it's a wonderful kind of DIY process for owners of wineries and other brands that might not be able to invest in, our typical 6 to 8 week branding process. It's a little more navigated, and you can Google this. I did not invent the brand key process, but it's so helpful for our clients to kind of allow them to begin thinking with their head and not their gut. Internally at Vint and DesignScout, we do what's called our brandscape, and it's a much more labor-intensive process on our end. But if you're looking to help you, hone your brand and help you make those really wise decisions with your brand, following a brand key process can be really helpful. It's really, 8 simple steps to brand clarity, as I like to say. It really begins with honing in on your competition, understanding who your competition is. The second is looking at very closely at your target audience and how you want that to evolve or change. And using those two items to help with your third step, which is really all of your insights based on your competition, your competitive landscape, and who it is that you're hoping to attract as new consumers for your products. What do you know about that consumer? And how do you really want to develop a foundation for your choices moving forward? Beyond that, it also takes a look at the core benefits of your wine. What do people get by engaging with your brand? And this is where we really get to lean into lifestyle and the full, functions and emotional benefits of engaging with your brand. I know if I have a bottle of Dow Patrimony, it's a wine to celebrate, and I'm going to savor it, and I'm going to enjoy that with friends and family because it's a very elevated, high-end, premium 100-point wine. Whereas if I'm drinking a bottle of Soleil Mimosa, it is a prepackaged mimosa that's fun for beach days or on a boat, maybe for parties. So those are very different benefits for two different products. So what are the benefits of your product? We also lean into the fifth step, which is values and personality. So understanding, what in your brand can you really lean on in terms of what you stand for? If you have a real value for protecting the environment, if you have a real value for uplifting women in business, if you have a value for organic farming, that's something that you need to think about as you make decisions for your brand moving forward. It also leans into your discriminator, which is very hard, but it is the one thing that is really the biggest reason for your target audience to choose your brand over someone else's. What is that one unique thing? We also think about those reasons to believe. So what is the proof that you're using to help them believe that discriminator? So what are you actually doing? So for example, if your discriminator is you're the most environmentally friendly wine in the world, what is that proof? What is that reasoning? How are you lowering your carbon footprint? What are the parts of your brand that you can convey to support that discriminator? And then lastly is the eighth part, which is your essence. Really leaning into what is that overall feeling, that North Star that your brand conveys in the blink of an eye. And to go back a little bit to why you should work with a professional designer, anyone who understands Photoshop or Illustrator or even Canva these days can help you design a label. But a professional designer doesn't just read design or use software, they speak design. And that's where we really take that essence for your brand or your North Star and allow people to see that in the blink of an eye and to completely understand what your brand is about in an instant, because that professional will bring years and years of experience at making those translations for you. So that's kind of the brand key in about 5 minutes. I could talk about it for an hour and a half. But that's really, such a critical pathway for people to get to that clarity for their brand and allow them to make better choices.
Scout, you've taken companies through your brandscape process and really focusing in on the strategy and brand to create a label that really speaks and sells, because your show is about how do you move wine and how do you sell wine in the end. And I'd love for you to just talk about some examples with the Mimosa brand.
Yeah, and Soleil Mimosa is a great case study. And funny enough, the phrase, how do you move wine, which I love that double entendre. Like, it's not just about selling wine and moving product, it's about moving the industry. But when we first submitted our design to print for a rebrand for Soleil Mimosa, which is the oldest, longest standing, highest quality bottled prepackaged mimosa that you can purchase, we sent it to the printer. And the very first thing he wrote back was, wow, this is going to move wine. And I was like, thank you. That's the biggest compliment we can get. And unfortunately, I don't have a bottle of the Mimosa with me right now, but I'll show you the cans because they reflect kind of the existing brand. So the can for Soleil Mimosa and the bottles are very, very focused originally on conveying that this is orange juice and wine together. And it's 100% natural orange pulp and fresh sparkling wine, or fresh orange pulp and sparkling wine from New Mexico, super high quality and premium product. But the packaging was really focused on looking almost like Tropicana, and they were always bottled next to the sparkling wines because that was a placement they requested from their distributors. But it really was a very orange juice centered design. And we worked with the wonderful team at Soleil and Sandra Pacheco and Daniel Gonzalez to take this beautiful product and wrap it in a really beautiful design. But we started by focusing on that brand key and thinking about who is the target audience. We realized that there's a huge opportunity with millennials to start enjoying this product. They were really skewing older in their demographics. We wanted to have that person connect with that carefree lifestyle, the portability of the product, the convenience of the product, but also that it's a premium quality product. So our whole brand key process allowed us to redesign their full packaging, which just came out this month. And so now
Mm.
you'll see these are the 750 bottles, but we do the full wrap to kind of, in some ways, mask the fact that high quality wine and pulp often separates on the shelf. So there's a little ring of pulp at the bottom, but we have this full wrap that is incredibly vibrant in color. It's a very modern design. It conveys the idea of the sparkling wine blended with the juice because it has two separate color blockings, and it's almost neon on the shelf. There's lots of little effervescent bubbles that show you the product kind of being a sparkling product. And then the design and overall graphics that go on the bottle are very minimal and super modern. My favorite is this hot pink uh, bottle cap that we have. And every product varietal has different colors. So here we have the mango, which is a dark red, orange, and then a
Sounds
brighter
delicious.
orange. And the orange juice is, hot pink and orange. So
If you
that
are
was all
just
very
listening to the
influenced.
audio, I encourage you check out the video as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's just
great.
such a wonderful, it's a way to really represent that product in blink of an eye and connect with younger audiences. It's very Instagram friendly.
And that kind of goes into, not just thinking about the label on a shelf, but in all mediums.
Yeah. And that's another, challenge I think wineries experience. They're not always super focused on. For sure, it's important to think about your winery's label on the shelf and what that shelf presence looks like, how it feels in your hand. If someone picks up your bottle, they're more likely to purchase it and put it in their cart. But today, more than ever, your digital representation of your product is equally important as people are buying wine through Drizzly, through, Instacart, or all these other ways to look at wine and shop on your phone. You really have to make sure that you're focusing on your design for all mediums and really standing out. This bottle for Soleil Mimosa would never be confused, even if it was, the size of a quarter or a dime on your phone screen for a different brand. It's incredibly differentiated. So make sure that when you design your wine label, it is following the same context and allows people to notice you, even if it fits within the broader context of your wine's, traditional AVA look and feel.
Scout, when we think about labels, what are some brands that stick out that maybe are unafraid to stand out? Because I know you've talked about not just following trends, but also being able to stand out.
Yeah, and I do think that one mistake people make is leaning into too much. To me, it's all about finding your own unique story and really leaning on that. One of my favorite new labels is the Director's Cut update by Francis Ford Coppola Family Winery. They have this beautiful wine label, which unfortunately I don't have a version of me with me right now, but I'll put it on the site with the episode. It has a zoetrope strip, which I don't know about anyone else, but I'm a total zoetrope nerd. Y'all, right? Everyone? No?
Explain to me zoetrope.
so, so a zoetrope, I know it's totally obscure, but a zoetrope are the very first movies. They were a drum that have little slits on the outside of the drum. And on the inside of the drum was a film strip of like a running horse or, a very simple film strip. And there's a light inside. And as you spin the zoetrope, you see through the little slits on the side of the drum and it kind of makes the picture move and allows you to see that animation. So they were the very first moving pictures. I often think of zoetropes when I think of the end of my workday and I'm winding down and my husband's like, you look spaced out. And I say, oh, my zoetrope is slowing down. I'm chilling out. But so Coppola took, and the wonderful team at Coppola took a original zoetrope strip and then wound it all the way around the bottle with like a double, triple wind. So that it's one long, thin label that shows a story as you look around the entire bottle and you twist the bottle as you go. It's an incredible
That's
feat
cool.
of, application for a label. That bottling line has to be perfection for that label to be applied that way. But also the creativity, the broader story behind it. It all leans into their strategy and not just what's happening with wine labels. So I just think it's such a creative exploration. And they even have the little slits that you would see on the outside of the zoetrope around the capsule at the top of the wine. So really great work. Bravo to Nicole Walsh and the team over at Coppola.
So what do you say, Scout, to people who, maybe you come up with this amazing, you listen to kind of the essence of what their brand is, so it speaks to their audience, and you come up with these amazing ideas for them and you're ready to execute on them, and they're a bit afraid because of maybe it's going to cost a little bit more as far as
Yeah.
the investment in the label goes.
Absolutely. I have a lot of respect for the algebra that goes into cost of goods sold for a winery, and there are so many different costs beyond design and packaging. Um, but I really do, really advise against being penny wise and pound foolish in this area. There are design techniques and elements that will support the storytelling in your brand and printing that really require a slightly more expensive print process. We're all familiar with gold foil or silver foil, but the right die cut, the right application of an emboss, a more unique paper stock, all of those things can be so critical in conveying that story. And most importantly, often the quality of your product, that if you really are, using inexpensive print methods just to save money, it shows to the consumer. Kind of a parallel to that is when you are driving past a new restaurant on the street and you see they have a giant banner for a sign and they didn't invest in a really nice sign. And you think to yourself, oh, they'll be there for 6 months. Like you have to gain that trust and that investment in your product. So I always recommend when possible, and I know this depends on quantities, this depends on how you're, applying your labels, everything, but when possible, using premium paper stocks, using premium print techniques, and listening to your design team and making a little bit of a sacrifice when it comes to that price per label. It could literally be pennies on the label, but it could increase your sales by so much. So I always encourage people to be flexible on that print budget and don't be afraid to stretch and expand a little bit. And any printer will tell you, how many more print orders they get after they start printing on nicer paper because they know that their sales are going up for their clients. So I highly, highly recommend it.
So Scott, who does a good job of this, investing in label and really doing it right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, bigger wineries that do it right. And I think they're a really great example for smaller wineries. Like I love Trinchero, Napa Valley. I think their line labels are so very simple and minimal, but distinctive. And the print quality on them is just very, very, very good. It's high quality foil. The way it looks, it gives you that luxury feeling. And it's also things like, the weight of the glass and what the capsule is like. And there's more to that story than just the label. I think Trinchero does a wonderful job.
First of all, Scout, thank you. Thanks for walking through what to focus on when creating a wine label and some of the mistakes. Where should we point people towards to learn more?
Sure. Well, you can always learn more about our current body of work on our Instagram at Vint.studio. You're also welcome to contact us or take a look at our website to see just tons of really beautifully designed wine labels that are perfectly printed always.
Awesome.
No, they're really great. And then also, I encourage you to reach out to me personally. So you can always send an email to hello@Vint.studio. That's Vint.studio. And I'm always happy to take a look at photos of your current packaging and make recommendations on the house.
Thanks, everyone. Everyone check out Vint.studio and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Tune in for the next Vinted. Subscribe today. For future episodes, marketing advice, and more, follow me on Instagram @Scout Driscoll. Learn more about Vint's design and branding services for wineries at www.vint.studio.